Welcome to the Stronger Marriage Podcast. Today, Lee and I are talking about some things that are out of bounds in marriage. Not things you slip up and do every now and then. These are things you should never do in your marriage. Out of bound items. This is going to be a good podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to the Stronger Marriage Podcast with Trey and Lee. On this podcast, you'll hear real topics about real life that cover everything from married sex to raising kids to loving your spouse so much that you're willing to forgive them for occasionally being the most annoying person in the world. Trey and Lee have raised 4 boys, been married over 30 years, and somehow still really like each other. And now, live from the metropolis of Childress, Texas, a place so flat you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. Here are your hosts for the Stronger Marriage Podcast, Trey and Lee Morgan.
Hey, everybody. So glad you joined us today.
Yep, glad to have you. Welcome. We had a little break from podcasting last week. Thanks for your patience with us.
Yes, we had a little getaway time, just the two of us. We needed that. We do a lot of traveling, but we don't do a lot of traveling just for the two of us. So we had some downtime.
Yeah, we get to see a lot of cool places, but usually we're speaking or seeing people or something. And so we had about 5 days in Mexico where we kind of laid on a beach and read books and ate.
We were very lazy. We would lay there and look at people parasailing and think, man, that looks like so much fun. We should go do that. And we'd talk about doing it every day. And we just couldn't ever quite seem to get out of our beach chairs to go do that.
That's true. That is exactly. We had people that would walk by and go, I am here to talk y'all into parasailing or snorkeling. And we would go, we're not leaving these chairs until someone says it's time for supper.
We are here to relax.
Yeah,
that's what we did.
A lot of times folks vacation for fun and to do things, and we do those too. Mm-hmm. But this was a downtime vacation. This was simply we need to recharge our battery as a married couple. And just a break away from people and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was.
Didn't know anybody. Nobody knew us. It was kind of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, and so we had a good time. We are headed to Birmingham, Hoover, Alabama. That area. We're excited about coming that way. We're going to see some. This is college football weekend, and man, Alabama people love the Crimson Tide. And last time we went, we were the only people that didn't have on red shirts. And so I'm just curious to see. I may have to see if I can't find a shirt that kind of matches where I look like I fit in.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, there you go. Good luck with that. The other thing that I noticed now when we travel in the South, I remember the last time we went to a hotel, I dropped you off, and I ran to Walmart to get something we'd forgot. And while I was there, I asked someone where something was, and both 2 ladies at Walmart both called me either honey, sweetie, or bless your heart. You know, I mean, and I just thought, man, where do you get that but the South? But that was good stuff. But we're going to be in Hoover this weekend, Friday night and Saturday, for a family and marriage workshop, and we're excited about that and looking forward to it. Next month, Houston area, so come see us, come hang out with us.
Yes, Pasadena.
Yeah, can I set up a little bit what direction we're going on this thing? You know, there are a lot of things you should not do in marriage, but we still do things. We lose our temper at times with one another. We don't try to, and we apologize, and sometimes maybe we're not as quick to forgive as we should. Those are some things that we need to do. But there are some things that are just out of bounds. They're not oops, I didn't mean to do that. They're just things you should never, ever do. And these are the things we want to talk about today. 7 of these things that are just break all the rules. They are just out of bounds in marriage. You should not ever do these. And we're going to talk a little bit about what these 7 are, that if we touch on something that kind of rubs a sore spot with you just a little bit, in a sense of you going, yeah, we kind of do that occasionally, then this is a good time for you to maybe talk about it with your spouse and go, hey, I commit, we're not going to do this anymore. This is not going to happen anymore. And so I'm going to talk about some tough stuff, and these are things that should not be a part of your marriage. Not occasionally, not ever. And so why don't you take off with number 1 of 7 things that are out of bounds in marriage?
Well, the first thing that is out of bounds is hurting your spouse on purpose.
Okay. Why would somebody actually do that?
I mean, why would
Just
you
'cause you
hurt
get
your spouse?
mad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, if you're mad and you just think, that if your spouse has maybe accidentally hurt you because they were careless with their words or, made a poor decision or whatever, and you just think, I'm going to get back at them. It's just not healthy.
Yeah. You never want to hurt your spouse on purpose. And we can talk verbally or physically. Of course, we know, and we don't have to say this. This is something we shouldn't have to say. There is never a place for physical violence or abuse in marriage. And it doesn't matter if it's a wife or a husband, whomever it is, because we've seen it on both sides. There is never a case for physical abuse, but also verbally. Mm-hmm. And verbal abuse is much easier to throw around, mm-hmm. and can oftentimes hurt worse than physical abuse. Absolutely
can. And one of the things that can fall under that, I guess, the verbal abuse is threatening divorce.
That's right.
A lot of couples just carelessly, or maybe not carelessly, because we're talking about doing this on purpose. When you're angry and you're just, you just throw out there, well, maybe we should just get a divorce.
Yeah.
When we went into marriage, that just wasn't an option for us. It was till death do us part, and we truly meant our vows when we said that. And so to ever say, well, I'm just going to divorce you because you did that is very unhealthy.
Yeah.
Very hurtful.
There's a clear line between constantly threatening a divorce because you're mad and actually having something in your marriage that is divorce worthy, where you say, maybe we should talk about this, some separation or something, mm-hmm. but to go around and simply go, well, fine, maybe we should just get a divorce. Mm-hmm. That is verbal abuse, that is emotional abuse, and threatening divorce to get your way or to hurt your spouse is something that's out of bounds. It just should not be. And so do not allow that to happen. Are there reasons for divorce? Yes, and we believe that. Are there times that somebody might need to get out? Absolutely. But those are few and far between. But what is very few and far between is ever using divorce as a threat to hurt your spouse. That is something that should not be.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Another thing that we do sometimes to hurt our spouse on purpose is using the silent treatment. This is emotional abuse. You're mad, and so I'm just not going to talk to you. I'm going to give you the cold shoulder. I'm going to be ugly. I'm
going to treat you different. Mm-hmm. I'm only going to speak to you when I have to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's just so unhealthy. That is not a part. Now, we understand there's going to be a time where you may be mad and you may be upset and you may have to tell your spouse, I'm mad and I'm going to say something I shouldn't, so give me a little time to cool off. Mm-hmm. But if 2 hours later, if 2 days later, you're giving your spouse the cold shoulder still because something they did, then something's off on that. That's what you can't use words or silent treatment to verbally hurt your spouse on purpose and expect your marriage to be healthy.
Yeah, you need to be able to, at some point, get past the anger enough to sit down and have a civil conversation about what took place that made you upset.
Yeah, good point. All right, so that's number 1, don't hurt your spouse on purpose. Number 2, withholding. We put withholding sex, but we're going to say withholding anything your spouse needs as punishment, meaning my spouse, maybe Lee loves conversation, and maybe Lee wants to talk, and maybe she loves to talk, and which she's pretty big on communication, and I know it, and maybe I'm going to give the silent treatment, and I'm just refusing to talk to her. I am withholding emotional needs to punish her, and that's unhealthy. Withholding sex to punish your spouse. Now, we're not saying you're mad at your spouse because they hurt your feelings that afternoon and there's no way you're going to sleep with them tonight. We're not talking about that. But when you punish your spouse by withholding sex, communication, affection, any kind of love, and you're doing this as punishment, you're not just hurting your spouse, you're hurting your marriage. And that's out of bounds. And we have so many couples that, well, I'm not going to give her this until she starts giving me that.
That's
or
right.
I'm mad at him and, there's no way I'm going to go to bed with him or go to bed with her, anytime within the next 2 months. And so withholding sex, withholding affection, withholding conversation as punishment, as a way to hurt your spouse, goes kind of back to that first one. You're doing it to hurt your spouse on purpose, and you're just hurting your marriage and your relationship.
You're hurting yourself in the process. So, not healthy.
And again, that doesn't mean that if you're mad at your spouse, you have to come in and go, let's talk. You could go, I'm a little upset. Give me a little time to cool off.
I need some space.
Yes, we're not saying that just you have an argument and what we are saying is when you are trying to hurt your spouse by withholding needs from them, you are hurting your marriage. You are not hurting your spouse.
Well said. So the next one is talking bad about your spouse to other people. This is out of bounds.
It is. Now, we might have to talk to a counselor at times, or a mentor about some problems we're having in marriage, and that's okay. But this would be more along the lines of just
venting
and bad-mouthing your spouse to family.
I think especially doing it with family, it was really just especially detrimental because you don't want your family to think disrespectfully of your spouse. I mean, they're a part of the family too, and so especially with your family.
You can't. I think we've posted this before on social media. You can't go around telling all your family the bad things about your spouse and then wonder why it is they don't like your spouse. So talking about your spouse bad to other people, whether it's coworkers, your buddies at work, your girlfriends, that is just not the place to run your spouse down to somebody else. Don't do that. That's out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
Now, if you're seriously needing some marriage help, then maybe so. Or, maybe if you need to vent just a little bit, that's one thing to somebody. But if you're going around constantly talking bad about your spouse, and especially social media, out of bounds.
Very out of bounds. Yeah, never blast your spouse on social media because
that doesn't fix anything. That makes things worse.
That makes things a whole lot worse.
Don't use your comments, your Facebook. Don't use these things that to badmouth your spouse. It only makes your marriage work. I had a friend one time that I actually had to have this conversation with because every time he and his wife got in an argument, he wrote something negative about her on his Facebook status. And I finally, about the second time it happened, first time I thought, I'm just going to ignore this. But then it came right back up and I went to him and explained to him, I can tell you how to make your marriage better. I can also tell you how to make your marriage worse. And that's to continue to post negative things about your spouse on social media. You can't do that and expect your marriage to be better. Because she was reading those.
Yeah, and he knew that she was, and so he was doing it on purpose.
That goes back to number one.
Exactly. He was hurting her on purpose because he was angry.
Yeah.
So, don't do that. That is out of bounds.
Yeah,
we keep saying the phrase out of bounds, and so this is kind of making me laugh a little bit. We watched...
Is this out of bounds?
No, because we watched an episode of 30 Rock last night, and so we were kind of at the part, if y'all watched that, where Liz wrote the book about deal breaker. It's a deal breaker, ladies. We're not saying these things are deal breakers because we're telling you, don't threaten divorce. But I don't know. It just keeps reminding me of that phrase.
Out of bounds. These
out
are out of bounds. Maybe we should write a book called That's Out of Bounds.
That's Out of Bounds.
There you go. Now, number 4 kind of fits with number 2 that we kind of talked about, but we're going to bring it up again. Ignoring your spouse. And this is really, if I can say this is more of, hey, your spouse could use some time. They could use a date. They could use a night away. They could use some time together. And you're just going, hey, I'm just too busy. And you just ignore your spouse. You ignore their needs. we think our marriage works best personally. When I get up in the morning going, what do you think my wife is going to need today? I'm going to try to meet those things, knowing full well that my wife is also getting up going, what can I do for my husband today to bless him? And when you just ignore your spouse and you don't try to, how can I help my spouse today? If you don't try to think, what does my spouse need from me? If you just ignore your spouse, that's not healthy.
That's true. We know a lot of couples that, maybe the wife just begs her husband, can we please go on a date? Can we please go on a getaway? And the husband's just, he's just thinking, that's just not me. I don't want to do that. I come home and I'm tired and I want to sit in my chair. And basically that's ignoring your spouse's needs when you're just refusing to do whatever it is that they're asking for repeatedly.
Yeah. And maybe he's saying, hey, I'd love for you to go to a football game with me. Or she's saying, I'd love for you to go do something with me. And when you're just constantly pushing your spouse to the back burner,
saying that's just not my interest.
Yep. When you're doing that, you know what that is?
Out of bounds.
That's out of bounds. Yeah, don't be doing that. That is out of bounds, people. Yes. Okay, number 5 of 7.
Allowing other people to talk badly about your spouse.
Yeah. Earlier it was you talking bad.
So don't allow other people to talk bad about your spouse. If somebody starts saying, well, your husband is this or your wife is that, you're like, no, you don't talk about my spouse that way. Yeah. So you have your spouse's back no matter what.
Yeah, you may feel that way about my spouse, but don't tell me about it. I don't want to hear it, because if you hurt, if you are verbally abusive about my spouse, you're verbally abusive about me, because two are one flesh. If somebody is disrespecting your spouse, they are disrespecting you. Don't let that happen. Meaning, stand up for your spouse. We're not telling you to punch somebody in the nose, but you may have to go, hey, I can't be your friend, or we can't hang out with you, or we can't come for Christmas if you are going to verbally or, trash talk my spouse. That is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Have your spouse's back. Spouse trumps everyone other than God.
Yes.
Everyone other than God. So you have your spouse's back. Not having your spouse's back is against. And can we throw out the blended family thing, because this can be a little tough sometimes?
Yeah, I think this probably applies to blended families, maybe even more so than.
Because you're going to have children kind of play each other against each other, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you're going to go, but you're my dad. Why are you taking her side? Or Mom, why are you taking his side over my side? And whether you're in a blended family or a nuclear traditional family, have your spouse's back.
Yes.
You've got to do that.
Yeah, we preach all the time, you are your spouse's biggest fan. And so that, having your spouse's back is just part of being their biggest fan. You build them up no matter what, and you never tear them down. You don't let anybody else tear them down.
That's right. So. That is right. Number 6, don't keep secrets from your spouse. That is out of bounds. Now, of course, this does not mean Christmas presents. This does not mean a surprise birthday party. But this does mean you just don't,
when you're doing something you shouldn't really be doing, and you're hiding it, then that is unhealthy.
And that can be spending. That can be going someplace, hanging out with someone, doing something online you should not do. Your phone. We talked about this a million times. We're not going to bring it back up in this episode, but we both have access to one another's phones. We can, anytime we want, either of us are welcome to use the other's phone if we need to actually, in Cancun. We did this in Cancun.
Yeah.
I went up to the room, left you on the beach, and I said, hang on to my phone. I'll go get yours out of the room, and I will text you with your phone when I get up there if I need something. And, it was amazing because I was absolutely unconcerned about you having my phone by yourself and what you might or might not look at, because you're welcome to look at anything you want to on my phone at any time.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. I mean, there should never be any concern whatsoever about what a spouse is going to see on your phone.
Yeah. Keeping secrets is very unhealthy, and it is out of bounds. Let's say that again.
It's out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
All right. The last one is there should never be any screaming or swearing at your spouse. No name calling.
No throwing things.
Don't throw things.
Stay under control, people.
Don't punch walls. I mean, if you're angry and you think, well, it's better for me to throw something and punch a wall than it is to, hit my spouse. Well, yes, it is. But that's just that your anger is out of control at that point. If you're throwing things and you're punching walls. So I just hope that if you have that much anger, that you can recognize when you start, reaching that boiling point, because you can start feeling your body tenses up and heat rushes into your face and you can feel yourself getting angry. That's a good time to just tell your spouse, you know what, I am getting really angry and I need to just excuse myself. And maybe you need to go, put on your running shoes and go for a brisk run. Maybe you need to go to the gym and lift some weights, but there are healthier ways to vent your anger than taking it out on your spouse in the heat of the moment. When you recognize that you're getting angry, excuse yourself until you can get under control and come back and have a rational conversation.
Yeah. I think it would be good to say here, just being out of control is out of bounds. You cannot just lose control. Name calling, throwing things, swearing, whatever it is. And I'm reminded of Galatians 5 verse 22 that talks about Christian people and the characteristics that they have. They should have. These are fruits of the Spirit. And it's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. That we as Christian men and women should have self-control. We should be under control and have control over ourselves, our temper, our words, that sort of thing. That is a part of who you are as a Christian husband or Christian wife.
Yes. And so if that's something that you struggle with, work on that. Make it a goal to get that under control, because it's possible. It is highly possible to get better at that.
That's right. 7 things are out of control, that are out of bounds in marriage, and we've talked about 7 of them. And I hope that you will take those 7 and maybe discuss them with your spouse, especially if there are some in there that maybe you struggle with a little bit. Maybe you've run across number 2 and you kind of go, yeah, when I'm mad at my spouse, I just don't talk to them for several days to just kind of punish them. I'm trying to hurt them. That's not healthy for your marriage. We want to build healthy marriages, and the quicker you can forgive and the quicker you can get over something, the better, because about 9.9 times out of 10, what you're mad about isn't going to matter here in just a few weeks.
Yeah.
You're going to forget in a year what it was even that you were so mad about.
That's right. And you're going to be the one that's going to need some forgiveness at some point down the road, probably. So be quick to forgive. The quicker you are to forgive, the quicker your spouse will be to forgive you when you need it.
That's a good point. All right. This was fun. This was a good episode. We will be back on a regular schedule now. So we're excited about being back next week. If you have some podcast episode topics that you would love to share with us, message us and let us know. Hey, we would like for you to address this, and we would be happy to see if we could pull that off.
That'd be great.
That would be fun.
Yeah, to have some feedback.
Thank you guys for joining us today, and we look forward to maybe seeing you at a workshop. We've got a Stronger Marriage cruise coming up here in a few months. I'm excited about that.
It's going to be here before we know it.
It's going to get cold, and in January, when it's like cold, 85-degree temps are going to sound nice.
It's going to be great.
It is. I'm excited about it.
See you next week.
Adios.